Hi everyone, it's Lynn Dion from Pink Whisper Designs. Today we're going to create a really fun peekaboo pop-up card. And as we go through the video, I'll be showing you exactly how to create one of these. And for images, we're going to be using this adorable little feline set from the Art Impressions collection. And we're going to be using that whole grouping of the felines and then also that little cat that was down at the bottom there. This set has quite a few sentiments that come with it, and it also has the coordinating dies. So let's start off by stamping this entire little grouping of these cats. I'm using the Versafine Onyx black ink, and I'm stamping onto some Strathmore Bristol smooth cardstock. For the first cat, I'm going to be using the sugared almond pink and the platinum brown. So the pink will be for the ears and for the cheeks on all of these little cats. I'll be using that sugared almond pink. And then with the platinum brown, I'm just going to place it right around the edges and then pull in towards the center. And these markers that I'm using are the Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens. These are a water-based pen, and I'm using the Zig Blender pen to do my blending. You'll notice in the upper left-hand corner as we go along, I'm going to be listing all the colors that I'm using. I'm going to pop in a little bit of music and finish up this coloring. And then I'll meet you on the other side and we'll start assembling our little peekaboo pop-up. So I'll see you shortly. So now that we've finished up all that coloring, I'm using my Pitt Artist pen. This is the white, number 101. So I'm just going to add a little bit more white in some of these areas. I'm adding a little bit to the eyes. I'll add some to those white areas of fur on some of these little cats. So I'm just kind of using it just to highlight those white areas a little bit more. This is a permanent marker, so although you do have a little time to smudge it when you first lay it down, it will dry permanent. Now I've got the black Pitt Artist pen, and I'm going to come in and just go back over the eyes a little bit just to darken those up. And now I've got the coordinating die, and those are the steel die cutters. Those are something new that Art Impressions is carrying. So they're really nice little cutters. It makes it really easy to clean up these dies. I'm just kind of taking off some of those little extra metal tabs. And now we can go ahead and lay this down. I'll just put a little bit of Post-it tape on here just to hold that in place while we run that through the die cutting machine. So I'm running it through the Spellbinders Platinum 6 die cutting machine. And now you can see that up close, and aren't these just so cute? Now we have one more little cat to stamp from that same set. I stamped it, same as before. I colored it in off camera, basically the same way I've colored in all those other little cats. And I'm going to run this one through the Sizzix Sidekick machine. So I did that quickly off camera, and you can see that one up close. So now we have the little kittens that we need. Let's go ahead and start on the Peekaboo pop-up. So there's some extra pieces I'm not going to be using from this set, but I've laid out the pieces that we do need. And again, this is the Peekaboo pop-up set from Lawn Fawn, and you can see there what happens. It creates a little pop-up mechanism. So this piece here, you need 2 of those. So off camera, I die cut 2 out of the Strathmore Bristol Smooth 100-pound cardstock. And you do want a heavyweight cardstock for that. That's the base of your card. And then this little panel here can be attached to the back, and you can put your sentiment on there. Then it's got a couple of clouds. I die cut quite a few of those. And then you have this little border. We'll be using that in a second. And then you have 3 different pop-up mechanisms. I'm going to select that one at the top, and you can see that it creates the little score lines that you need to do your folding. And those 3 different pop-up mechanisms will pop the image up in different places on your card. So you might want to play around with those a little bit and decide on which one works best for you. Now I've got the stitch border that comes with the set, and I'm lining it up on one of those card panels, and I'm going to go ahead and die cut that. So that top piece we don't need, and we'll keep this lower piece. Now keep in mind that the score lines are on that smaller piece with the border on the left-hand side, as I just pointed to there. And the piece underneath the score lines will be on the right-hand side. So I've got the Distress Oxide Twisted Citron, and I'm going to apply that all over this background. And then I'm going to grab the Mowed Lawn, and we'll add a little shadowing up from the bottom and around the edges a little bit. And we're going to keep the top of this grassy border the lightest. So the last color we'll add is the Rustic Wilderness. And then what I'll do is go back with each of those blending brushes and blend that out a little bit better, just to smooth out those lines. Once I did that, I decided to give a little spatter, so I'm going back to that Rustic Wilderness, placing a little bit on my glass media mat, and then I'm just using a brush with some water, and I'm going to just spatter this panel. That'll just give it a little bit more interest and texture. Let's set that aside to dry, and now we can do the sky portion. So I'm starting off with the Mermaid Lagoon, and I don't need to do this entire panel. What I want to do is maybe about 3/4 of the panel. So I'm going to do like I did with the grass. I'm going to start off with the Mermaid Lagoon right across this panel. And I am using the Hero Arts blending brush to do my blending. And then I'm going to come in with the peacock feathers. And again, I'll create a little strip of that right across the middle of the card. And then I'm blending those two colors together a little bit. And at the end, we'll go back and blend it one more time. And then I've got the cracked pistachio for the very top. So I'm going to add a nice coating of that across the top. And then we can come back in and do some more blending, just kind of pulling those colors together. And you can see how pretty that is. So that's how our panels are going to come together. So let's start with the grassy border. We're going to fold this forward first and then back. It's a fan fold, and I'm using my bone folder to press those creases out. And now on that little tab on the back, I'm going to be adding some 1/4 inch double-sided tape, and this is also from Lawn Fawn. I'll add a couple strips of this. You do want something nice and strong here so that when you're pulling on these two sides of the card to make it pop up, that you have something that's nice and secure. So I'm using my little Cricut weeder tool to remove the backing from that tape. And now I can go ahead and line that tab up along the left-hand side of my card. So I'm lining up and making sure I press that down nicely. And then I want to put that little peekaboo mechanism in. So I'm going back to those same 3 colors we used for the sky, and I'm going to add those to this little pop-up mechanism. I just want that to blend in with the sky that we created when that little cat is going across the sky. I want that little pop-up piece to blend in. So it's got 2 score lines on it, and you want to fold these forward. It will make almost like a little triangle here. So I'm going to fold those 2 tabs forward, and that's all you need to do for the folding. Then I'm flipping it over, and I'm going to put glue just on that bottom portion, right there where I'm pointing. And I'm going to put some double-sided tape here, or a nice strong glue would be fine. Again, you want something very secure. So I'm going to place that down. I'll just cut away any excess because you don't want that to get stuck on anything. I want this to move freely. And then what I'll do is remove the backing from that tape. And then I'm going to flip this over. So let me show you that. I've got my little mechanism. There's the glue at the bottom. I'm going to flip it over, and we're going to tape that to that panel. So you're folding this back, and you're going to tape it right here. And I'm taping it just below that grassy border. And I'm coming in just a little tiny bit, maybe about a 1/16 of an inch. And now you want to test it and make sure that's going to pop up and down nicely for you. Now we've got the score lines on the bottom part of the card. So I'm going to fold in towards me and then away from me. And again, I'm using that bone folder to press everything out nicely. And now these 2 pieces can come together. So you do need some adhesive on this side, and you only want it to come up to that grassy border. I'm just going to place a little pencil line there just below that border, and then I know how much adhesive I need. So I'm going back to that 1/4 inch double-sided tape, and I'm going to put a couple strips of that here. Again, you want to cut away any excess. And now I can close up this card. And that looks pretty good, so I'm going to remove the backing. And now we just want to make sure we take a little time to line that right up in the corner, and then we can press that into place. So now let's just test that mechanism, make sure that it's popping up nicely. And now our little cat is going to go on that mechanism. He's going to pop up from behind those other cats. And I thought this one was perfect for this. He almost looks like he's flying. I think the stamp is designed that he would be laying on the floor looking up, but I thought it looked really like he could fly across the card. So I thought that was really cute. So I'm just kind of testing things out here to see where I want to position this little cat. And what I'm going to do is put some more of that 1/4 inch double-sided tape right on the very end of this mechanism. If you find that it was too long, you can always cut this mechanism down a little bit. So you could trim off a little bit if you needed to. But I like the length of it, and I'm going to pop that in place. And now you can see that's going to sit right behind that grassy border. So I'm just holding that down with my little Post-it holder, just so I can figure out the positioning of this little grouping of cats. Now I've got some 3D foam tape, and I've placed that all around the back of these cats. I'm just removing the backing, and then I'm going to position these down. Now you could put these anywhere on the card. You could put them lower, but I wanted that cat that's going to be popping up to look like he was right behind these other cats. So I'm going to place those up a little bit higher, and you can see that's going to work perfectly. Now, earlier I die cut some clouds, and that's from that same die set, the Peekaboo pop-up die set. And I'm just adding a little bit of that Peacock Feathers ink just to the bottoms of those clouds, just to give them a little bit of a shadow. I've got my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive, and I'm going to apply some adhesive to the back of these clouds. I would kind of avoid popping anything up back here because you don't want to interfere with the little mechanism, with that little cat that's going to pop up. So you want to make sure you don't pop anything up that will get in the way of that. So I'm going to just glue these flat. And then I wanted something on that little right-hand panel there. So I'm going to place a cloud there as well. That'll just give it a little bit more interest and kind of continue that scene off the side of the card. So here I was just checking to see if I wanted to add another cloud, and I decided not to. So now I just wanted to show you that panel we cut earlier can be placed on the back of your card. You could stamp a sentiment there and sign that as well. Now let's take a look at this sentiment. This is perfectly Pawsome, and this is from the Matchbook Cat set, which I have done videos on the matchbooks, several videos on the matchbooks, and I did also use the cats as well, and it's such a cute little set. I also want to grab this banner die, and that is from the Tag Stitch die set. And I'm going to go ahead and cut out this sentiment. Now you can see that it's a little bit longer than my die. So what I'm going to do is tape that down on the left-hand side of the sentiment, and then I'm only going to cut about 3/4 of this. So wherever I have my top plate is where I'm going to be cutting. So this will just cut about 3/4 of the sentiment. You can see that there. And then I'll cut the rest by sliding this over to the right-hand side. I'm locking it into place with what we've already cut, and I want to just make sure I line that up. Again, it'll lock down into place for you. Then you can tape it down. And then again, I don't want to cut the whole thing. I just want to cut in about halfway. And where that top plate is where the cutting will occur. So now you can see that we've extended out that little die to accommodate our sentiment. I've placed some 3D foam squares on the back of the sentiment, and I'm just going to center that on the card. So now I've got this other sentiment, and I don't want the whole thing. I just want part of it. So what I'm actually going to do is cut this stamp. I'm using some detail scissors. You do want to be very careful when you're cutting these, but I can always put it back together if I want to use it as an entire sentiment in the future. And that just says, hope your birthdays, and then of course, perfectly Pawsome will be at the bottom. So again, I've got that same die. It fits this portion of the sentiment just right, so I can go ahead and run that through the Sizzix Sidekick machine. And I die cut 2 additional ones out of that same Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock. I glued those together just to give myself a little bit thicker embellishment. And that is because that's going to be hanging off the top of this little panel on the card. And so I wanted it to have a little bit of weight to it, a little bit of body to it. Now I've got my Wink of Stella clear glitter pen. I'm going to apply that glitter all over these clouds for a little bit of sparkle. And you can see that this card stands up completely on its own. And there's our little pop-up cat. I just love this. I think he's so cute. So I really hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope you give this technique a try. And if you did enjoy the video, please hit the like button and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you don't miss a single video. As always, thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. Have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.